Keegan? Like the puzzle piece? Okay, the puzzle piece one. Oh wait, the one that is optional. Okay. What does yours say? Because it'll be different for everyone each time. Okay, here, let me do something. So x over 7, you said. Can you tell me what the inequality symbol is? Okay, so let's try this. Okay, it's probably just that one then. Okay, this one, right? Yeah. Okay, so still hear a lot of talking, no more talking, unless you're asking me questions or answering a question that I'm asking. You're allowed to work quietly by yourself if you still want to, but now I'm answering other people and recording, so I need to be able to hear them. So for this one, we have lots of fractions. I know you may not really like fractions, I get it. How can you make any fraction not a fraction anymore? Multiply by the denominator. I heard decimal. I mean, I guess you could do 1 over 7, but I don't know if that's a decimal that ends. So I don't recommend it. 1 over 2, yeah, sure. Put 0.5x if you want, because that's a decimal that ends. But some decimals repeat forever, like 1/3 is 0.3 repeating. Hey, Lisa. So how can I make any fraction not a fraction anymore? By doing what? Multiplying by the denominator, except for that there's a bunch of different kinds. So you have a few options there. You could try to see if there's one that you could multiply that will eliminate all the fractions. But can you think of a number that 7, 5, and 2 all multiply to? Probably not. Like, I can't really think of it. So then what I would do for this one is solve it maybe like one at a time. Or like get rid of the fraction one at a time. Also, since this is multiple choice, what this is asking is which value of x would make this true. Which value of x is the solution to the inequality. So you could also like type this in Desmos, but instead of x, put -8 and see if it produces something that's true, and so forth. Okay, but I think solving it will be easier for me because you won't always have multiple choice. So say I want the 7 to go away, like the denominator of 7. What do I need to multiply this entire thing by? Unless you're answering my question, then put your hand up. So if I want to get rid of a denominator of 7, what do I need to multiply the whole thing by? 7. So then when I do that, multiply every single thing by 7, that makes this x go away here. 7 times 1 is 7, so then this becomes 7/5. Then it becomes 7x over 2 plus 3. That gets rid of that fraction. Now the 5 and the 2, not really something I like to work with either. So if I want to get rid of a denominator of 5, what do I need to multiply it by? 5. The whole thing multiplied by 5. So then that becomes 5x minus 7, because 5 times 7 divided by 5 makes that cancel. And then over here, what's 5 times 7? 35. And that, do you guys know what 7 divided by 2 is? 3.5. So before doing this, if you wanted to make that 3.5 and then times it by 5, I think that might be better. Otherwise, it's 7 times 5, which is 35, and divided by 2. which is 17.5. X. I could leave it as 35/2, but maybe not. Maybe I just would rather it be that decimal since it is a decimal that ends. And then plus 3. Now notice I didn't have to flip the sign at all because I multiplied by positive values. If I, for some reason, wanted to multiply by a negative value, then I would have to flip the sign. All right. So this is what we have now. It's much easier to solve now. So in that case, we need to move the variable to one side. Which one do you want to move? The 5x or the 17.5x? And how do I move it? Subtracting. Subtracting. If I add 5x, that'd make it 10x, and really I want it to actually go away. So subtracting it would make it go away. What's 17.5x minus 5x? 12.5x. And then now we're on to isolating the variable. So start with what's farther without either 12.5 or the 3. How do I get rid of the 3? Whatever you do on one side. What's -7 minus 3? Less than or equal to what? Opposite of multiplying. 12.5 is divided. And whatever you do on one side. And then I get x. No, I did not have to flip the sign. Why did I not have to flip it? Because I divided a positive, not a negative. So keep the sign the same. That's why I recommend moving the smaller variable, because then you'll probably not have to work with the negative in that case. And then this, I know is going to be a decimal. Let me see what that is. -0.8. All right, let me just verify. But yes, -0.8. Now, notice that's not any of my answer options, but what this is asking is which value of x will make it true. So I need a value of x that would be bigger than -0.8 because the opening space in the x. Which of these is bigger than -0.8? I don't think any of them. So let me see. Let me see if I can put that in Desmos and see if it's an error in the key, because sometimes that happens, or if it is an error in something we did. All right, so let's see. So also another way to check if you are doing it right. So x over 7 minus 1/5 less than or equal to x over 2 plus 3. So when it's a one variable inequality, you'll see something like this. So the variable we're using is x. So look at the x-axis. Yeah, we must have done something wrong in the math. I'll have to like really look at it to see what it is. But look at where the circle is on the number line. It's at -8.96. And where is it shading to numbers that are greater than that or numbers that are less than that? So like use these numbers as an example. Is -5 or 0, is that greater than the -8.96 or smaller? So then the opening should face the x, and it should still be equal to, because it was a solid line going through it. So I don't know what we did wrong in the math. I'll have to really look at it, but let's just go from there. This is how you can verify in Desmos what it is. So since this is what it's actually supposed to be, which of our answers is greater than -8.96? Okay, let me make sure that key is right. And it is. So I'll have to really look at it. I don't want to spend too much time on it because I want to answer other people's questions, but we must have done something wrong in the math. So you could use Desmos to check. So questions on that one? Questions on others? And Mason, what were you trying to ask me? Okay. So other questions from either of the study guides? On the optional one? Okay. So there's like a bunch of different number 4s. Which one does yours say? Okay, let me see. And is it the one where it's 110 square feet or 80 square feet? Okay. All right, so he's planting a section of garden with tomatoes and cucumbers. The available area of the section is 110 square feet. He wants the area planted with tomatoes to be more than of the area planted with cucumbers. Select all the equations or inequalities that could describe that situation. Let X be area in square feet of planted tomatoes and Y be area in square feet of the cucumbers. So lots of info there. And I think it's missing, oh wait, no, it did tell you. It wants you to select all the equations or inequalities that could describe the situation. So basically your constraints. What is limiting in this problem, in this word problem? The amount of square feet available, and that amount is 110. Now I know we normally associate 100, or not 110. We normally associate is with equals, but if you have 110 square feet of planting area, are you able to plant like less than that? So then maybe we use a less than sign. Are we able to plant more than that if you only have 110 to work with? Could I plant exactly that? So then you'll want to use the symbol with the line underneath, and then whatever you're actually planting should be smaller than that. So then in that case, when you look at our answer options with the 110 involved, definitely don't want to use the first one because that would imply only less than. It can also be exactly that. This one's facing the wrong way. This one is same as ours. And this one would say it's only 110 that you can plant. So also the X plus Y makes sense because you want combined however many square feet for the tomatoes and however many square feet for the cucumbers to be less than 110. So that works. Mostly the totals, I think, are helpful. So questions on that part? Now there's still probably another constraint because look at this. Let's see where they might have even come up with that. What's the other thing that is limiting him? Feel free to reread it to figure it out. He wants there to be more tomatoes than cucumbers. What variable did they assign to the tomatoes? So we want the tomatoes to be greater than the cucumbers, and the cucumbers was Y. If he wants more than that, can it be exactly that? Like, can they be equal? So then don't put the line underneath. Now, when you're comparing these, you see like there's another number involved, which isn't in the problem. Think about like, if I were to multiply a number by 0.35, is that number going to get bigger or smaller? Smaller. Versus like if you multiplied it by 35, wouldn't that number get bigger? So don't pick the one where we're multiplying the cucumbers by 35 because you don't want the cucumbers to be greater. And then out of these ones, the one that has the correct symbol is this one, the very last one. So instead of going through every single option and figuring out what's like right or wrong about it, I would say identify all the constraints, make some symbols to, you know, represent those, and then go from there. See which ones are in your answer options. Let me make sure this marks it right, and it does. So questions on that one? Questions on others? And those of you sleeping, I don't want to hear crap about your grades or you having to come to Saturday school next week. Like, it is what it is. All right, so any questions on any of the study guides, paper or puzzle pieces? Number 2 on which one? The optional one? Okay, what does your number 2 say? Okay. So number 2, there's a lot of them that say Matthew, pretty much all of them. So let's see. Okay. Can you tell me what the first inequality is? Okay, negative x. So let me see. It's not that one, because they all say Matthew. Is it negative x minus 1?
Yep.
And then is the other one that one that's on the screen?
Yep.
Okay. So Matthew wrote the system of linear inequalities given, which graph shows the solution set of the system of linear inequalities. So it's not showing all the shading. It's just showing where it overlaps, right? Because remember, for it to be a solution to the system, it's the overlapping shaded area. So what's good about this one is it's already in slope-intercept form. So that makes it easy to probably eliminate some of these. However, when you're taking a test, because look at each one, they don't really look that different. Just the shading is different. But when you're taking a test, like what would you use to solve this one? Class? Would you graph these by hand necessarily? What would you use? So that's what I would recommend if you're taking like a time test. I mean, there's other ways to do it by hand. Like you don't need it if you know the skill, but if it's tomorrow and you still don't know, use Desmos. So type it in exactly how it looks. Symbols are all in this keyboard that I have up, like you press show keypad. And then, so negative x minus 1. And then it's y greater or equal to 2x plus 4. So type it in exactly. And we just want the graph that shows where the solution is. So where is my solution in this graph in Desmos? Describe it to me. Where is my solution to the system?
Like purple area. Yeah.
Right here where my mouse is. So then when you're picking your graphs, you want the one that has it here, like where my mouse is. The lines should look the same, and they actually look the same on all the graphs. But where the solution is where the shading overlaps, and they only want you to show the solution. Questions on that one? Okay. Questions on others? Paige? Okay. Let me delete these before someone starts an attempt and has like a million problems to do. Not that they're hard, but okay. You said number 6 though, Paige? Okay. And can you, because there's like a million of them. Okay, x plus y greater than 2. Like, is that one of the options? Are the problems that I'm pulling up similar to the ones you have? Because I feel like they're not. So what number is it on the optional one? Okay, let me see, because I feel like this isn't the right one. Okay, so let me see. It says graph the system of linear inequalities. Okay. So let's see. And it's x plus y. Okay. Okay, and then is the other one y greater than 2/5 x plus 3? Okay, here it is. So we're graphing the system of linear inequalities. I showed you guys how to graph using Desmos, so this one I'll show you how to figure out by hand. Because if you can't figure it out how to use Desmos on your test, maybe you forget, I can't help you with that during the test. Anytime outside of a testing session, yes, but not during. So one of them is already in slope-intercept form, so maybe let's start with that one. What's my y-intercept of this one? That's my slope. 2/5 would be my slope. So 3 is my y-intercept. So on these graphs, I need to have a dotted line, because look at the symbol. When it doesn't have that little line underneath, it needs to be dotted line. And I need a y-intercept of 3. Also, what type of shading would it be if it's y greater than? Above. So let's see if we can eliminate any based off of that. So for the first one on my screen, I don't know if they're shuffled on yours or not, but it's going to be 3. It's dotted, it's shaded above, so I can't eliminate A. Same with this one, dotted, shaded above, I can't eliminate B. This one also is going through, same way, through the 3, dotted, shaded above. And it looks like so is that one. So you can't eliminate based off of that. But it does look like they have different slopes. So now let's incorporate the slope. So the slope was 2/5. So that means from the y-intercept, you'd be going up 2 to the right 5. Is that touching the line? What my mouse is, I know it might be hard to see. So can't eliminate A. Over here, going up 2 to the right 5. I can't eliminate B, but can I eliminate C? Going up 2 to the right 5, is that on the line? So don't pick C. And then also, does that one follow the right slope? Up 2 to the right 5. So don't pick B. So now it's a 50-50 chance. Now let's incorporate that other inequality. but you have to put it in slope-intercept form first, which isn't that bad. You just have to isolate the y. There's only one thing happening to the y. How will I cancel that x? And whatever you do on one side of the symbol. So then I get y greater than negative x plus 2, because they're not like terms, and also I want the x term to be first so that it looks more like slope-intercept form. So based on that, only one of the two lines that go through 2 for the y-intercept have a negative slope. So which one's my answer, A or B? Does that make sense? So you have to just find ways to cancel them out. When it's systems of linear inequalities, there's lots of things to look at. So pick a few, and then also verifying them, especially if you have the time left over tomorrow, verifying them. We might have time for one more. Anyone? Yes. Number 1 on the optional. What does it say? Okay, hang on one second. Okay, tell me one more time, Joey. What does it start with? Okay, 12. Is it 12G? Is it that one? Okay. Let me see. 12 plus 10W. Okay. Okay, so, and I can write you a pass if I need to, but when you are solving inequalities, you want to get the variable alone, just like an equation. So you follow those same steps. And the step 1 would be to distribute first if necessary. Can you distribute in this one? So when you distribute, you get 8W, and I forget what 8 times 12 is.
I have 23 and 24 done.
Okay, thank you.
The paper.
Oh, show me in math lab later, okay? All right, so there's that. So all we did was distribute. And then second step would be to combine like terms. But do I have any like terms to combine in this one? So then you move on to step 3, which is to move the variable to one side. So it doesn't matter what side. Which one do you want to move? The 10W or the 8W? So I agree that usually when you do that, move the smaller one. You don't have to work with the negative. So then I get 10W minus 8W, which is what? 2W. And it's positive, so put plus 2W. Now it's just about isolating the variable. So now start with what's farther. Would that be the 12 or the 2? And how do you get rid of it? Subtract it. Whatever you do on one side. So then I get 2W greater or equal to 96 minus 12, which is 84. And then opposite of multiplying 2 would be, and then every time you do something on both sides, just kind of check to see if you need to flip the sign. So far, like we didn't have to. Subtracting, you don't. Dividing a positive, you don't. So just leave the sign the way it is.
And then 84 divided by 2 is 42. So it should be this one. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You need to pass.
All
right. Okay, here you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.